What if wealth isn't something you chase, but something you remember? Not from your bank statements, not from your circumstances, but from a quiet knowing buried deep within your mind. The blueprint for abundance isn't written on paper. It's etched into the subconscious, waiting for permission to awaken. Long before a millionaire touches their first fortune, they walk with an invisible certainty. This certainty isn't loud. It doesn't boast. It hums quietly beneath the surface, attracting opportunities that seem like chance, but are anything but. That's because reality, as ancient metaphysical teachings suggest, is not something we react to. It's something we project. Joseph Murphy taught that the subconscious mind holds the power to mold circumstances, not the other way around. It accepts what we impress upon it, whether through fear or faith. If you constantly see lack, you're not just observing, you're creating. But when you embody wealth, mentally, emotionally, and energetically, reality slowly starts to adjust in your favor. Not through effort alone, but through inner alignment. This is the first secret of the millionaire mindset. Abundance begins in silence. It blooms in belief. Before it ever becomes money in hand, it exists as certainty in spirit. When you grasp this, you stop asking, "When will it come?" and start asking, "How can I walk as if it's already here?" That shift, quiet, profound, and unseen, is where transformation begins. You won't find this blueprint in a manual or strategy guide. It's felt, it's lived, and once you see it, you can't unsee it, because the mind that believes in lack will never generate wealth, but the mind that feels wealthy before proof will always find the path. If this resonates with you so far, consider subscribing and liking the video. It helps us reach others walking this same path. Wealth isn't a destination. It's a vibration, a resonance that moves through your thoughts, emotions, and the energy you carry into every moment. You're not just a thinker, you're a transmitter, and the signals you send out determine what returns to you. This isn't just poetic language. It's the mechanics of spiritual law. Every thought you think is electric. Every emotion you feel is magnetic. Together, they form the vibrational code you're emitting. When your thoughts say, "I want wealth," but your emotions scream, "I don't deserve it," the signal is scrambled, and the universe, which responds not to words but to frequency, reflects back confusion, missed opportunities, inconsistency, friction. To align the code, coherence must be restored. You must think abundance, feel abundance, and live in a frequency that matches the reality you seek before it ever materializes. That's the paradox of vibrational truth. You receive not what you want, but what you are in resonance with. Joseph Murphy's work reminds us that the subconscious doesn't argue. It accepts the dominant vibration, whether it's fear or faith, guilt or gratitude. That's why practices like visualization, affirmation, and inner stillness are not childish games. They're technologies of alignment. When used with clarity and feeling, they recalibrate your entire field, not by force, but by permission. You begin to soften the old signal of lack and allow something higher to take its place, a quiet certainty that you're already wealthy, already safe, already chosen. As your internal frequency rises, the external world cannot help but respond. New people arrive, ideas flow, money shows up through channels that logic can't always predict. But none of it happens until the vibrational code is aligned. This is the silent key to attraction, not to want it louder, but to feel it truer. Inside you exists a vault, not one of steel, but of silence. This vault is your subconscious, a limitless chamber holding every belief, imprint, and memory that quietly dictates your relationship with abundance. You don't think your way into wealth, you believe your way there. And belief is not a choice of logic, it's a condition of imprinting. Joseph Murphy described the subconscious as soil. Whatever you plant in it, through repetition, emotion, and focus, will grow. But here's the part most ignore. This soil does not judge the seed. Whether you plant scarcity or abundance, it will nurture both with the same devotion. The subconscious doesn't filter. It accepts whatever you impress upon it most often, and with the strongest emotion. That's why people can study wealth, speak about prosperity, and still live in lack. Because beneath their conscious words, a deeper program is running, one that whispers, "I am not enough," or "Money is dangerous." And the subconscious, ever faithful, constructs reality around that silent voice. To reprogram this vault, you must speak the language it understands. Repetition, feeling, and imagery. You become the architect of new belief by feeding it visions of abundance, not just once, but daily. When the mind is soft, like at night, or just before waking. In these states, you bypass logic and go straight to the root. It's not about fake positivity. It's about truth-telling at a deeper level, reminding your inner self of what is possible, even when the outer world doesn't agree. The metaphysical imprint doesn't need permission from reality to begin working. It needs only your attention, your emotion, and your choice to withdraw power from old mental scripts. The moment you start feeding your subconscious a new story, one of worthiness, openness, and inevitable abundance, the vault begins to unlock, not in a dramatic explosion, but in subtle shifts. A clearer mind, a new idea, a calm where anxiety used to be, and eventually, the external world catches up, because it must reflect the seed now growing in silence. Abundance rarely enters a chaotic mind. It waits patiently for stillness, not the absence of thought, but the absence of resistance. There is a space within you, deeper than desire and beyond fear, where abundance is already present, not as money or possessions, but as potential. This space is sacred, and only when we remember it can true wealth begin to flow. Spiritual awareness is not a concept, it's a return, a remembering of who you are beyond the stories, beyond the programming, beyond the constant reaching. In that remembering, something quiet happens. You stop chasing and start receiving, not passively, but receptively. Joseph Murphy hinted at this often, that when the conscious mind steps back, the divine mind steps in. The inner silence is not empty. It's full of insight, of guidance, of clarity. But we often miss it because we're so busy trying to force outcomes. Yet the greatest wealth creators often describe the same experience: inspired action, intuitive timing, opportunities that seem to fall into place. These aren't coincidences. They're symptoms of alignment with the inner space. When you cultivate stillness through meditation, breath, solitude, or even simple presence, you're not doing nothing. You're tuning in. You're accessing a field that contains every solution, every idea, every connection that could ever lead to wealth. But not from panic, from peace. In a world that rewards noise, silence becomes your secret weapon. Not the silence of defeat, but the silence of power. When you can sit with yourself and feel whole, even without the money, the title, the proof, You begin radiating a signal that draws in what others are still chasing. Because abundance doesn't come to the frantic, it flows to the still. To walk in abundance before it arrives is not delusion, it is devotion. Devotion to a reality unseen but deeply felt. This is not about pretending you're rich or faking confidence for show. It's about embodying a truth so fully that the outer world has no choice but to catch up. There is power in the way you carry yourself, in the way you speak, choose, give, and even wait. The one who lives as if isn't merely playing a role. They are aligning with a frequency, becoming a vessel for what they know is already theirs. This is spiritual strategy, not fantasy. And it works because life responds not to need, but to identity. When you live from lack, you delay abundance. When you live from abundance, even if it hasn't yet materialized, you become magnetic. This doesn't mean reckless spending or hollow affirmations. It means choosing to move through life with the energy of someone who trusts, someone who knows they are supported, guided, and ready. Joseph Murphy often taught that the subconscious mind acts on the dominant idea impressed upon it. Walking as if reinforces that idea not just through words, but through motion. Every small action becomes an agreement with abundance. The way you dress, the way you give, the way you treat your time and surroundings. You are telling the universe, I am already there. It's not always easy, especially when the bank account says otherwise. But that's where the shift becomes real. When you hold the vibration in spite of evidence, you prove that your faith is not conditional. And that's when life begins to bend, subtly, quietly, then all at once, in your direction. Reality is not a distant force. It is a mirror, exact, impartial, and ever responsive. It doesn't reflect your wishes, it reflects your essence. This is the hardest truth for many to accept. Wanting something deeply does not guarantee its arrival. Radiating it through thought, feeling, and presence does. The universe does not reward longing, it responds to alignment. And alignment is not achieved by obsession, but by embodiment. What you radiate is what you are. If deep down you believe money is scarce, unworthy, or dangerous, your life will shape itself around that belief, regardless of what you say or hope. Energy precedes outcome. This is why two people can take the same action and see entirely different results. One is rooted in lack, the other in certainty. One moves from desperation, the other from clarity. And though their steps may look the same on the outside, the frequencies behind them tell two completely different stories. Life listens to vibration, not volume. Joseph Murphy spoke often of the law of belief, the inner conviction that shapes outer conditions. But belief isn't intellectual, it's vibrational. You don't change your life by convincing your mind. You change it by shifting your state. That shift is quiet, it's internal, and the outer world can't help but follow. Once you understand this mirror effect, you stop begging life to give. Instead, you begin asking yourself, what am I offering energetically? Not in effort, but in essence. You begin to take responsibility for your field, your signal, your state. And from that place, abundance becomes not a reward, but a reflection. True abundance is not proven when the money arrives. It's proven in what you become after it does. Many manifest wealth but lose the frequency that brought it. They return to fear, control, and scarcity disguised as caution, because they never truly became the person who could sustain abundance, only the one who could attract it. But real abundance is a loop, not a line. It is not a one-time event, but a living state, something you move with, nurture, and return to daily. If you treat abundance as a goal, you'll always feel behind. But when you treat it as a relationship, you begin to live in rhythm with it, and it stays. Joseph Murphy taught that wealth consciousness must become habitual, not just through thoughts, but through a sustained feeling of prosperity, safety, and expansion. This isn't just about keeping money, it's about keeping the mindset that allowed it in. The same trust, the same clarity, the same vibrational alignment. And this is where many fall back into old patterns. They forget the inner work that opened the gates. They stop feeding the subconscious. They lose touch with the stillness. But the sacred loop asks you to remain in devotion, not to wealth, but to the source within you that created it. That quiet intelligence, that unseen alignment, that is what sustains the flow. To live in abundance is not to fear its loss. It is to know you are the source through which it arrives, not once, but endlessly. You are not lucky. You are aligned. And when you hold this truth, wealth ceases to be a visitor and becomes a resident. It becomes a reflection of who you are, not just what you've gained.